And it was just not our firm, it was also all the other. That's what happened with pretty much all the algo trading firm, all the clearing firms that were representing them, like pretty much talking to the regulators and finding a way to regulate them appropriately. So that took a few years. Now you'll see there's still some in the UK, the latest regulation about algo traders and AI. So as part of this, when AI came about, I just thought, well, the ethical part was kind of obvious. If you see what an algorithm can cause in a market, which is a closed, heavily regulated area, if you do the same in a market that's less regulated, where the environment is open, you see the issues. And I guess, again, it's not the algorithm that was ever a problem with me. I'm pretty for the technology. It's more the way it's used or misused. And it's more from a lawyer, it's more the negligence aspect or the, let's say, the malevolent aspects that become more important. And so I learned a bit more through, as I say, I'm a lawyer from background, so I got interested to learn a bit more about the technology, understand what it can and cannot do. Obviously, laws and regulation are slow to come, so I took the initiative to look to standards, which still have a 3 years turnaround, but still help provide an industry solution. And what I saw missing with the algo traders and what we went through from the regulation perspective, it's a great technology. You want to have all the benefit of it, and the best way to get that is to get all the industry to start thinking about the way it should benefit them without having a substantially negative impact on people, which, because the motivation generally for companies being brand or obviously the legal aspect, which I'm very familiar with. So that's what initially led me to standards. And so I organized in Australia for like our first, I went to a number of CEOs of different companies and asked them to support the proposal for standards to have a standard on ethics and AI. And when the international standard got created, that was in October 2018, then I got the right incentive to get all the work started. So that's why now Australia is participating in the international standard on AI.
Yeah, so what are some of the roadblocks that you encountered initially, and why there is such a big need right now? We see Europe has done a study recently. IEEE is heavily involved since the beginning. What are some of the trigger points that you're seeing in a world stage that are driving so much of attention to this topic?
Well, you've got a lot of hypes, obviously, like let's say what's getting attention to the topic of AI is obviously the multi-million-dollar return, the fact that you can automate a lot of action. So obviously for businesses, it's got a significant benefit. For me, what I see with my observation is the main issue I see, and that's was the implementation of the technology, but that's not specific to AI. Within the company, it's the tendency to apply the same, to use the same technology to do the same process rather than to recreate new process. So that's one of the roadblocks I see within the companies, the issues they have with the innovation. And I think also what I see as a problem, and that's also why I went to standards, is the fear. With AI, there's a lot of unknown, just like, funny enough, just like blockchain really. And therefore, especially in the financial services, because there's so many regulations, you have to be careful about the implementation. So to have standardization that helps with adoption of the technology in a responsible manner, for me was just a benefit, because you hit the two birds with one stone. You get the minimum standard for adoption, and you also have a standard that's flexible enough, because it's at the international level, to allow for each country to adapt it to its own parameters. So it's also give you the basis to develop a responsible AI, which I think is a good start. Especially you'll see the conversation, as I say, in different countries. It's not for industry to industry looks for governments to make the rules, but especially in this field, government is seeking lots of consultation from different parties. So I think the benefit again of standards is joining together standards. It's joining standards, joining together the government aspect, but also the industry aspect and the university aspect. There's a fair few people from academia that are involved in the standard development. So it's really the right place to develop a common approach that is practical. And another roadblock, ethics is a very popular topic at the moment. 2 years ago it wasn't. So now you really can't switch off your TV or switch it on without seeing ethics on every second page. So the main issue is the principles were very useful, but now we've got about, I think, more than 52 different principles across many different countries. The principles are not necessarily specific to AI, for the good reason that it's aimed for people. The big problem is now it's a bit much of a noise, and the next step to how you implement this principle is a difficult part. So the roadblock is how to implement those principles. This is still a big piece of the international conversation. Obviously, how do you make sure that those principles are compatible when going from one country to another, and who's going to ensure compatibility? So for me it's particularly interesting, because it's like recreating a mini international legal system in a funny way. So looking at cross jurisdiction again, like what is acceptable, what's not, but obviously it's much more beyond law. It's also about the ethics, the branding, etc. So that's absolutely that's the part of the work that I really enjoy.
Great, thank you, Aurelie. My question for you is, what is the level of support from the government of Australia are you getting so far with all this?
So Australia at the moment, so the Australian federal government did ask 3 organizations to look at the roadmap for AI and also for ethics. One is done by the Australian Human Rights Commission, so there's one consultation that's led by them. There's also another consultation that's led by CSIRO, which is the federal research body of Australia. And the last one is by standards. So standards is an integral part of the project that the government is developing, because it's involved in the consultation on AI that the government's organising. So at the moment we had, as I say, 3 consultation papers that's been done by each of those bodies. Sorry, the Human Rights Commission did 2 papers, and we did the final one. So.
Great. And it's really nice to hear that Australia is being proactive by creating these entities with systems in places to steer AI in the right direction for the country. And I believe it's safe to say globally, this entire world is really excited about AI. What we're, optimistically thinking is AI for business automation, do more faster, potentially cheaper, more automation. And then we have large titans in our area like Microsoft using AI for humans, for disabled folks to have a level playing field. But the one topic that no one really talks about, and especially the criminal mind will never talk about it, but is there any bad AI that you are anticipating that might be up and coming?
Not bad AI, again, negligence or very malevolent people using AI in either a very stupid way or just, as you say, like really malevolent. So again, any technology can be used in a good or a bad way, and this is no difference, it's just multiplied. Like with an algorithm or neural network, you can effectively have affect a lot more people at once, hence the reference to the crashing the market, right? So now you've got, if you give that technology to someone that doesn't know how to use it, you give them the possibility to crash not one market, but multiple markets. That's problematic if they're negligent, if they're malevolent, yes. And I guess we have one professor, English professor, but he lives in Australia now, Toby Walsh. He's been petitioning and talking at the UN about banning AI weapons. So that's definitely one use that is fought strongly against, because obviously it gets rid of the issues with obviously if you follow the Asimov law, this should never be considered. So that, and he got now the signature of about more than 100 scientists worldwide, including Elon Musk. So that's one. What was in algo trading again? So that's just more sort of algorithm, not what I call AI. You see people that actually could easily pick patterns of the market, and as a result they could actually manipulate the market in the way that was forbidden by the rules. But funny enough, and actually the CFTC extradited 2 traders for that, because they didn't have the technology a few years back to pick up those trades, but now they do. So see, good AI fighting bad AI. So obviously I'm not a huge fan of social scoring, but I would not just allocate that to China. You see the UK's got is one of the countries that's got more and more cameras on the street. So not that they're doing facial recognition, but surveillance is becoming more and more prevalent. Lots of technology is imported from China to do surveillance, but there's also some created locally, and I think in this case you have to be particularly careful in justifying it. So for me, I'm more considering within the corporate world the governance of AI. So I'm more looking at those negligence and malevolent issues within the governance of AI, or effectively the fact that obviously if you have a black box, then you don't know the outcome, so it's a bit more difficult to use AI and can cause some issues. So how do you make sure when you use AI, the impact is calculated and appropriate? So that's what's important to me. From the hacking perspective, there's a very long list, but this is less the aspect I'm looking at, because this is more on the cybersecurity perspective.
Yeah, thanks, Aurelie. And so, we are a very small group of individuals trying to influence whoever we can, and we've kept a very finite and realistic goal for ourselves that we want to just influence one person at a time to do the right thing when it comes to making choices or understanding biases and things of that nature. How could we, some of us who are interested in partnering or participating in such a manner, would you see the good AI starting here in Seattle? I mean, play any role at a stage where we could look at advice from your side or help out with anything on the standard side? I mean, do you see us playing some role or collaborating together at some stage?
So there's two things. So from the standards perspective, actually in the US the standards are doing quite key work. There's been a number of consultations that's been done by the US body of standards. So that would be definitely something worthwhile to be involved in. So that I explained, you have the international standard, and each country participate in it. The US is already participating in the international standard on AI. So the best way the easiest way to actually get involved in that work would be to start speaking with them. They may have some events happening, or as I said, they had the consultation just recently. So that would be the first port of call. For us, we, as I say, separately from the work I do on standards, we have a group of people called Ethics for AI and Automated Decision Making. We're going to become a non-for-profit for ethical AI. And yes, in that respect, definitely happy to partner. But again, it's down the track looking at what would be the best way to interact and develop the relationship.
Great. And any concluding messages for people who are listening and who are just part of this keynote?
I think from my perspective, the ethics conversation is just getting started. To make it impactful, the key message is not to add to the noise, but to find practical solutions that can help companies. And that's by looking currently at the problems that your companies have, especially when they're looking at AI, and start to think about that problem in a very practical manner. So that's what I've been doing in Australia. So how do you, like the next stage, how do you apply those principles and make it a positive and possible message for industry to implement AI responsibly?
Great. Thank you so much, Aurelie. Thank you so much for the time. We wish we could have you live talking to the audience and taking questions. Sangdu and I just thought of some questions that would be that have been discussed in our various events when we meet. But this has been super useful. Really thank you for your time and appreciate you taking this time during your vacation to talk to us. I hope France is good. Thank you so much for spending this time with us.
My pleasure. Maybe hope to see you in Seattle or in Sydney one day.
Thank you.
Yeah, the big issue there was the lighting. It went down, it went dark as it was evening, but we couldn't stop the flow, so we were like, okay, let's just keep this going. That was already. Any questions? Anything anybody wants to share or say? We could, yeah.
Will this video be available like somewhere on
Yes.
here?
So it's already on YouTube, as you can see. I'll share the link on the meetup group. So wherever you get it, so LinkedIn, meetup, everywhere we'll post the link, so it will be available. Any other questions or comments?
So, what was your biggest takeaway from
The biggest takeaway for me was, doing something as big as creating standards for AI, which really we are even struggling to define it properly, right? Like nobody agrees on the definition itself, and then we are talking about creating standards. So it's a very, very difficult task, and it can only happen when a lot of different individuals, businesses, and people who care kind of come together, and it can only be done collaboratively, because if you don't agree on definitions itself, it's not going to really make that impact that there's one thing to have standards, but there is enforcement, compliance to those standards is a whole different ballgame. So for me, the biggest takeaway was that what they're doing is commendable, that they're at least staying ahead of that curve, trying to still enforce some level of standardization on how things are done. But actually, that's a great segue for our next speaker. She is going to talk about safe AI, actually. Let me see if I have. Okay. Yes. So, Teresa, do you like that? So, why don't you get plugged in? And,
Yes.
So Teresa has been in AI for many years, and she's written 4 books on AI. The latest one is called Safe AI, right, Teresa?
Safe AI.
Safe AI, yeah, and she's a professor, she's a keynote speaker, as you can see, TED Talk, all that good stuff. We're very lucky to have her. She has started 2 companies, and now she's on the 3rd one. So the 2 companies are, there was an exit, and she can share a little bit in her introduction.
You need to help me here.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so, all yours.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, as I'm here, it's easier. I'm not a professor anymore. I was. I've been a professor for a long time. I was in academia, but now I left academia like 11 years ago when I came here and never went back. I loved it, but I had already a lifetime doing that, so I need to do something different and bringing the knowledge that I developed in AI into the industry and doing products and making a difference to people. So that's why I left academia. So I published more than 100 papers, and there is 3 cities. So I was full long in academia and dangerous AI could become. And I was not aware of that. So it was one of those researchers that do AI because you have done it all your life. And when I was asked to read that speech, and I did some research, and I realized, yes, it's really dangerous, and I didn't know. So the danger is at a very fundamental level. It's not ethics, which is what we mostly speak about. It's not if there is something that could do something bad for an individual. It's more of it can really destroy humanity at that level. So people that really understand AI are worried at that level, at the level of technology can become something against humanity as a core. So the horror AI movies, I call them horror AI movies, that I don't want to watch because it influences your mind also and goes into the direction of destruction. It's true. So that's a potential that can happen. And the people that are experts on machine learning or they have learned AI in the last few years don't realize that because machine learning process is still in a very primitive state. So that will not cause the destruction of humanity, but the combination of black box technologies and the tuning of the parameters automatically with another black box, like genetic algorithms, and all together with computer power of the computing of a quantum computing computer have the potential of doing that. So if we are not aware of the danger and we have the tools available to us, the awareness, or then I call it even consciousness of what is the potential of that technology is very dangerous. And that's why I speak about it, not because I want to provoke it, it's the opposite. I'm into good AI. And Vikram was saying the other day when I met him that the intent of this group is to talk about how many good things we can do with AI, so our mind goes to the good things and we will not create the bad things. And I agree with that to a point, because if you don't know the danger, you can create a bad thing without being aware. So we really need to know and educate ourselves and our kids about that potential, so we choose purposely, consciously, not to do it. So that's a little bit of background from me. I'm incubating a startup now. It's called Trace AI. It's to provide transparency in the autonomous vehicle space. That's what I'm doing now. In 2 points, in the control part and in the perception part. So we can certify software for autonomous vehicles as safety software with ISO 26262. So the software will be certified. That's what I'm doing. I'm also doing consulting work for companies that want to develop responsible AI strategies and implementation of the strategy. So a little bit of moving away from, I have AI tools, which is machine learning tools, and I can classify and predict what data do you have that is clean enough so I can classify and predict in your company. And then you're using AI, which is what is happening right now. Only 70% of companies have an AI strategy. So it's moving away from that, which is the power in the data scientists that don't know anything about the business value, and going back to maybe the power of deciding what AI is good for the company from the business point of view, and kind of forgetting about the technology, because there is experts in technology that can solve that for the executives, and going in the direction of defining what they want the company to become, to disrupt their industry and help or improve the services to the clients using any set of technology, not only machine learning, but any set of technology that AI can provide, and make sure that there is transparency in that part, that we always know how the AI engine is working, and allowing that. So we agreeing with that the AI engine is. So that's the the beginning, and I was asked to give a presentation of about 15 minutes so we can discuss. And Vikram asked me to talk about AI in general so we can have very energetic discussion. So that's what I brought. So what is AI in general, where we are in AI, what are the answers that I already mentioned, all of that. So that's what I'm going to do, and we will have time to discuss, right? So this here, right? The current state of AI. Is that? Can you hear me well? Okay. I think I have a voice. So human intelligence has developed linearly for the last 500 million years in different parts of our brain: the reptilian, the middle, and the neocortex. In the neocortex, the one we use the most now is called the yellow brain, also which is the surface of the brain. Linearly. Artificial intelligence has been developed in the last 60 years, and the curve of development is very sharp. The point of crossing of artificial and natural intelligence is called general intelligence. I think everybody knows it. And we know that once we cross the point of general artificial intelligence, we will immediately arrive to superintelligence. And that's what we don't want to do, because we will lose the control of everything that AI is doing, and the AI can control us, and we can become the cat of the house, as Elon Musk was mentioning. So we want to avoid that. And my proposal is to develop an AI that always runs under our own intelligence, that's the green line under, and using it outside of us to not allow any chip in our bodies, because we don't have cybersecurity solved, so we can be controlled here already, but more with that chip that we have inside, and always use it externally to help us start growing our intelligence a little bit exponentially, like the curve that I put there. I think we can do that with technology, and using the technology with consciousness. That's